Live from the AOC studios deep in the heart of downtown Lafayette, Louisiana. It's fun, it's excitement. Our long national nightmare is partly over.
Thank God.
The election is done. The American people have had their say. And tonight we will talk about it. We'll try not to waste the entire hour talking about the election. But if that's what you feel like talking about, you may. It is 124 East Main. I'm Ian Ozan. And boy, am I happy to be here this week because it means I don't have the flu.
Huh.
Yeah, hold on. If you're going to turn the camera, we have to turn the owl too. There we go. Okay, yeah, we just needed to make sure the owl is facing the camera. Last week we were going to be here. Last week we were going to do a show. We were going to do an election special. But the flu happened. And I know a lot of you out there wound up coming down with the flu. I know a lot of you have yet to take the flu shot. I got mine this week. Take your flu shot, folks, because once you get the flu, it is something nasty. It's something that you don't want to have happen to you. So make sure that you do get it. One lasting effect, and I'm not sure if this is from the flu or if this is something else. You may notice me cough or go to the glass of water a little bit more often tonight. I'm still having lingering throat issues, so please bear with me. But again, if you want to get in, the phone number is 366-8951. Now, let's go ahead and let's start off with the topic everybody's been discussing for the better part of the last, 5 days now since this happened. Donald Trump is the president-elect of the United States. And I know there are a lot of people who are shocked that that result happened. There are others who are not so surprised. The fact of the matter is, the Democratic Party, and let me preface this by saying, everything I'm saying tonight is with the benefit of hindsight. Some of this we should have seen, and by we I mean the media, by we I mean the American people, should have seen before it happened. Some of this we should have figured a long time ago. But for some reason, everything didn't make sense until after Tuesday night. In fact, some of this didn't make sense until Thursday or Friday morning. But the fact of the matter is that Donald Trump is now the president-elect of the United States. Now, I'm going to start off with one of the arguments that I've heard online since all of this has begun, is that the Electoral College has failed the American people because Donald Trump did not win the popular vote. Look, the Electoral College was designed, depending on which school of thought you believe, to protect smaller rural areas and smaller rural, to protect, I guess you could say, the flyover states, as you would call them now, from not having their voices heard. And that, if you look at the map of the United States as to who voted for whom, you would see that mainly metropolitan areas and portions of the eastern seaboard voted for Hillary Clinton. The rest of the nation, for all intents and purposes, threw their votes to Trump. The Electoral College did its job. We cannot blame the Electoral College for Donald Trump being the president-elect. Let's throw that argument away. We can, however, make the argument that the Democratic Party handed Donald Trump this election on a silver platter. Here's how. The Democrats failed to consider the thoughts of the blue-collar worker during this election. The Democrats failed to even get a sense of what was going through the minds of low to middle class white workers of both blue and white collar backgrounds. And they failed to understand what the average Trump voter was thinking and why they wanted to vote for Donald Trump. The Democratic Party failed to realize that folks who voted for Trump did not want, you're walking in front of the camera.
Oh, sorry.
the Democratic Party failed to realize that folks who voted for Donald Trump voted for him because he was allegedly a vote against the machine as it stands right now, against the American political machine as it is right now. They failed to vote for Donald Trump, or they failed to realize that folks voted for Donald Trump or would vote for Donald Trump because he gave them some sort of hope that he would bring jobs back to their communities, that he would make their small towns great again. When Donald Trump said, "Let's make America great again," yes, there may have been some coded language there. And we've discussed that all throughout this campaign. But for the average American who couldn't comprehend or who isn't thinking in terms of political correctness, for lack of a better phrase, or isn't thinking in the academic term, thinking of this election from an academic sense, they were voting for Donald Trump to make their small towns great again, to get them jobs, to get them the salaries that they knew before. That he would be the person to break the system and give them a chance at living a normal life again. The Democratic Party didn't even bother. Hold on just a second. I'm on the Acadiana Open channel. You are now too.
How was your evening?
I'm on air. I'll call you back later.
Bye, boy.
Bye.
Bye.
It's a Sunday night at 6 o'clock. Where in the world do you think I am? The Democratic Party failed to get a glimpse at the lives of the people, or get a glimpse of the lives of the people who are hurt by the recent oil slump, by those who lost their jobs when the coal mines dried up, by those who lost their jobs when jobs went overseas. If the Democratic Party would have taken just a little bit of time to try to understand what these people were feeling and why they were voting the way they were, maybe Hillary could have won. But the Democratic Party got too caught up in its own echo chamber and started believing its own hype. Later, Paul. And allowed Donald Trump to swoop in and take away potential voters. That's why he won Ohio. That's why he won North Carolina. He won Florida mostly on the immigration issue. But there are a number of reasons why the Democrats handed this election to Donald Trump. And give Donald Trump credit. He didn't assume anything in this race. Yes, did he use racist rhetoric to get elected? Absolutely he did. He tapped into a certain base that you would hope no politician would tap into, but he did. It worked for him. So be it. But still, this is a race that the Democrats could have won if they wouldn't have believed their own hype. This is a result the media should have seen coming, considering Hillary's leads in the last days leading up to the polls, or leading up to the election, were within the margin of error. The media should have seen this coming just based on the Trump rallies where folks would heckle the media. And the fact of the matter is, the national media, by that I mean the CNNs of the world, the Fox Newses, and the MSNBCs didn't help matters much. Let me rephrase that. Fox News helped Donald Trump. Trump's election is a result of the Fox News world we live in. It's been 20 years since the network signed on, 21 years now, and it just elected a president. How ironic. Turns 21 and it gives us a president. CNN, though, needs to begin doing its job of reporting the facts instead of allowing political pundits to dominate its network news cycle. I know 24 hours is a lot of time to fill programming, or 24 hours is a lot of time when you have a network that you have to fill programming. But the fact of the matter is there's enough news going on around the world and enough news going on in the election cycle on both the Republican and Democratic sides that CNN didn't need to rely on political pundits throughout the course of the election. And the fact that many of the anchors on CNN seem to be favoring Hillary Clinton didn't help either. The Democratic Party also shot itself in the foot when WikiLeaks made it known that Debbie Wasserman Schultz, the former DNC chairman, I don't want to use the word rigged, but a better word doesn't come to mind, that Debbie Wasserman Schultz made it a bit easier for Hillary Clinton to win the nomination by changing rules here and there to hinder the Bernie Sanders campaign and to help Hillary along in the primary process. But again, looking at all of this in hindsight, we should have figured out that Donald Trump would win this election. Tuesday night was a bit of a surprise still, though, even with all the clues there in front of us, to see that, to show that, hey, he's got a really legitimate chance. Many of us didn't figure it out or didn't see it until after the fact. The biggest issue I have post-election is not that Trump is the president, is that you now have people protesting the election. Yes, I know people complained about Obama for 8 years, but I don't recall anybody taking the streets after he was elected. The fact of the matter is that protesting isn't going to do a damn bit of good here. Trump won the race. He won fair and square. The tactics he used weren't pretty. The tactics he used were unprofessional, but they worked. And the fact is, some, if not most, of those who were protesting did not cast a vote. In fact, the numbers of voters in this election were down from 2008 and 2012, when President Obama won his 2 terms in office. Many of those voters were the voters who said if Bernie wasn't the Democratic nominee, they would stay home. And the fact is, those of you who stayed home and didn't vote have no reason to bitch and moan about this at all. If you didn't vote, you have no right to complain. If you didn't vote, you have no right to protest the result of the election. If you didn't vote, you have to live with the choice that you made. Every choice has consequences. And now you have to live with the result, or live with the consequence of knowing that your vote might have counted. If you voted and you voted your conscience and you didn't vote for Hillary or Trump, I raise my cup to you. At least you cast your ballot, and you cast a ballot with some sort of reason or informed decision. But those of you who didn't vote and want to complain, i.e. Colin Kaepernick, the San Francisco 49ers quarterback, stop. Now is too late to complain. Now is too late to say, I don't want him as my president. You had that chance last Tuesday. And the fact of the matter is, all the protests, all the complaining, I'm sure somewhere Donald Trump is looking at the video and looking at the reports of these protests, and he's smiling at himself. It's because it's giving him more attention. It's giving more credence to everything he said during his campaign. If you want to stop Donald Trump or you don't like his presidency, work in your community to make it better. Work with an organization that will elect candidates to Congress that you like. Work for an organization that will help elect a president who is to your liking in 4 years. But protesting now ain't doing a damn thing for anybody. And speaking of the president-elect Donald Trump, again, Tuesday night, the one thing that came to my mind is Donald Trump is asking himself, what now? Trump has never held elective office. Donald Trump has, of course, is a businessman, but he's never been anywhere near government and has never had to work with as large of a body as Congress. He's never had any checks placed on him. He's never had anyone tell him, no, you can't do that. It'll be interesting to see how this man operates as the President of the United States. It'll be interesting to see what he does and how he acts during his term of office. Tuesday night, Donald Trump went to bed a happy man. After everything was said and done, he gave his concession speech about 2 o'clock Eastern Time, 1 o'clock, 1 o'clock Central. Went to bed with a smile on his face. I'm sure Wednesday morning he woke up, looked in the mirror, and asked himself, what now? Donald Trump at this point is like the Roadrunner his Wile E. Coyote after he caught the Roadrunner. If you remember that cartoon from 1981, the Roadrunner held up a sign, said, you always wanted me to catch him. Now what do I do? Well, Donald Trump caught Hillary Clinton and beat her. Now what does he do? Now what do you want him to do? And that's the question. Today he made a big announcement naming 2 of his key folks, naming Reince Priebus, the Republican National Committee chairman, as his chief of staff, and Steve Bannon of Breitbart News, his former campaign CEO, as his, domestic strategist or chief strategist. I forget what the title he gave him was. So Trump is moving quickly to get his inner circle formed, which is good to see. At the very least, he's not pussyfooting around with it. He's getting ready to, and at the very least, it seems like he's trying to learn the system. But if there's one thing about Donald Trump that we've learned during this entire campaign, if there's one thing about Donald Trump that we've learned during the course of the last, 30 years or so that he's been part of pop culture, we've learned that he's a huckster. We learned that you can't necessarily believe anything that comes out of Donald Trump's mouth. People don't like politicians who flip-flop. Well, Donald Trump's now a politician, and we can say that he has flip-flopped from Democrat to Reform to Republican. The man has changed parties more than some people change their underwear. And he's done it at times where it was a convenience for him, where it would help him get ahead. Remember, he ran for president and on the Reform Party ticket some 16 years ago before he decided to drop out. This year, of course, we know what happened. Ran as a Republican. The fact of the matter is that Donald Trump has changed his positions. First, he was pro-abortion, then he was anti-abortion, then he's pro-abortion again. A man who says he wants to bring jobs back to America has his line of clothing made in China. The man is willing to say and do anything to get people to like him and get people to go his way. He's not exactly the best leader in the world. And the fact of the matter is that a lot of you who voted for him may be sorely disappointed with him by the time his term in office is up. Many of you voted for him because he wasn't Hillary. Many of you voted for him because he allegedly was pro-life. I think you'll be sorely disappointed with him in that respect. Many of you voted for him because he pledged to build a wall and pledged to keep immigrants out, or at least make immigration regulations more stringent. I think you're going to be disappointed with him in that respect. Donald Trump campaigned on putting Hillary Clinton in jail. You're really going to be disappointed with that one. The fact of the matter is, Donald Trump is going to learn, and those of you who voted for Donald Trump are going to learn just as quickly, if not more quickly, than Obama supporters learned in 2008 and shortly thereafter, that what you promise as a president is dependent on what Congress gets you. And the fact of the matter is, Congress has to worry about what happens to itself in 2 years come midterm elections. Donald Trump is not going to get everything that he wants. He's certainly not going to get everything he campaigned for. But then again, Donald Trump isn't going to ask everything he campaigned for. The fact of the matter is that Donald Trump is going to back off a lot of positions. He'll conveniently forget that he said many of his campaign platforms, and he's probably going to run a middle-of-the-road presidency. And those of you on the far right, or the alt-right, which is now the new internet speak for the white supremacist movement, you're really going to be disappointed and pissed off with your new president. Good evening, Z.
Hey, what's going on?
Yeah, the Saints.
This Donald Trump thing really has you in a spin, huh?
It has me in a spin because the reason is, he won the presidency. Whoop-de-doo.
Of course, because number one, he got first of all, he didn't get the popular vote. But second of all, some of those...
That's true, because Minnesota and Arizona came in late. That pushed him ahead. You're right.
They didn't go out there to vote. And number one, Hillary Clinton's biggest problem, if she wanted to win the presidency, was to focus on platforms and not spend all her time shooting back at him. Because in the battle of the dirt slinging, he beat her out.
Yeah.
And she needs to focus more on what she could have done for this country instead of worrying about Donald Trump.
Well, the problem is Hillary...
For the next 4 years, we got to live with that crap. But you know what? He's not going to run the country anyway. He's going to have people at his side doing it for him.
Well, and that's why he's getting his inner circle ready right now. But my problem with the post-election part of this is, you've got people gloating about what Donald Trump allegedly is going to do as president. You've got people who are still sulking about Hillary losing and worried about how Trump is going to destroy the United States. You've got folks who are bickering and arguing back and forth about something that was decided 5 days ago. And I guess I can tie up my little spiel in a little bow and say with this. Donald Trump is not going to ruin America. This country's been around for 240 years now. And there have been a lot of presidents. There have been 44 of them. And despite how really terrible some of them were, they didn't ruin the country. 8 years ago, I remember hearing people, some of my close friends say, oh, Obama's going to turn this country inside out, that he's going to destroy it, he's going to do this, he's going to take our guns. Well, 8 years of Obama, and nobody's guns are missing, and this country is still in pretty damn good shape. People said the same thing about Bill Clinton,
Did a great job.
about George W. Bush, about Ronald Reagan, about Jimmy Carter. And the fact of the matter is, none of these people ruined the country.
He didn't put this country in any, and he put it in no bigger mess than it was when he took office 8 years ago.
And that's
because it was going downhill then, and if you ask me, it was in no worse shape than it was back then. Okay,
right.
But all of this thing about the great hope and how he's going to turn this country around. Oh yeah, he's going to put money in everybody's pockets. How everybody's going to have jobs and all of this. Donald Trump, I'm speaking about.
Mm-hmm.
Since when has anybody in his position in society given a damn about the middle class? He does not care. He is worried about himself, and I'm not even going to worry about it because, number one, I know he can't run this country alone. My biggest fear is, though, when they showed that picture of him on TV a couple of weeks ago, who was that standing to his left? Was that Damien from the Bowman?
Who?
Boy on his left.
Oh, his son.
Oh, that's his son?
I think so. The one that was rolling his eyes?
I could have sworn that was a little guy from the Omen. I could have sworn that was a little guy that played as Damien on the Omen. He looked just like him.
But and I'll go on a limb and make this prediction now. Trump is not going to make a full 4 years. The Republicans are going to find a way to get rid of him, or Trump invariably will do something that it will screw up something so badly, whether he puts himself in a conflict of interest with one of his business dealings and the government, or he somehow I can't even wrap around how it'll happen.
He'll discover something worse than Watergate.
But Donald Trump will not last. He will either be impeached and forced out of office, or he will be forced to resign. The Republicans used Donald Trump.
His way through the rest of his term.
Donald Trump was used, and Trump doesn't even realize this, I don't think. He was used by the Republican Party for the Republicans to grab the White House back. He is a pawn in their game, and he doesn't catch it.
He doesn't realize that because he's ignorant of it.
But Donald Trump believes his own BS. And I'll give Donald Trump, he can BS his way out of a paper bag. The guy is the king of BS. But with that, and I admire him for that, because God, he knows how to get people to believe him. But with that said,
eventually that charm runs out.
Right.
That charm runs out. People are going to read him like an open book.
No, go ahead.
No, he's ignorant. If you ask me, he's ignorant. He contradicts everything he says. He's an outright liar. I mean, the guy doesn't know left from right. He says one thing one day, and the next day he says something else. But you know what? It didn't matter who won that election, because either way we'd have dealt with it. You had the lesser of two evils.
Yeah.
As far as I see it, that's my opinion.
Well,
it's scary.
It was the lesser of two terrible candidates. But the thing with Donald Trump is, and this is why I think he's not going to last a full 4 years, Donald Trump cannot be controlled by anybody because he's a loose cannon. The Republicans want somebody in office that will toe the party line. Mike Pence, the vice president, would do that. Donald Trump, as a president, won't. He will follow his own agenda and follow the beat of his own drum. And the Republican Party will not like that.
All these people who said they wouldn't support him and whatnot. Who was the guy on TV this morning that was the Republican head? Can't think of his name.
Reince Priebus?
Say it again?
Reince Priebus?
No. I can't think of his name. But he was on there this morning, and all the things that he was saying during Trump's election when he wouldn't support him. He's the head of the Republican. What is it? I can't think of it right now. But anyway, he was supporting Trump. He did not give his support to Trump during the election. He said he wouldn't support him, and now he's hanging on the back of him. So it's like
Paul Ryan.
Paul Ryan, that's him, Paul Ryan. Yeah, he wouldn't support him during the election. Now all of a sudden he's riding his coattail like, oh yeah, he's going to do what's right with the country and with the Republican Party and all this.
Because all the moderate Republicans now have to hold their nose and realize that they're in for this ride too.
Well, the thing is, I think they're trying to win their way over with him so they can control him and they can get what they want out of him.
Well, the fact of the matter is, Paul Ryan's the Speaker of the House. He is a head of the lower house of Congress. Doesn't have to push his agenda. He doesn't have to worry about anything.
Did he take Boehner's place?
Yes.
Right. Okay, that's it. But anyway, on a lighter note, Leon Russell passed away. Did you know that?
Yeah, I heard that this morning.
Yeah, we got to see him in concert.
Yep, 6 years ago when he came here to Lafayette. But he's
a whole lot younger. He's a whole lot younger than I thought he was.
He looked a lot older, but his health over the course of the last 10 years, his health hadn't been good. And after when Elton John found him wherever he was, they got him back to health, got him back on diet, got him. I think he was diabetic and wasn't taking care of himself, and they made sure that he got back to health. But
when he came to the Cajun Dome with Elton John, he could hardly walk up the stairs.
Yeah, he'd been walking with a cane for a long time.
Yeah, I was just shocked that he was only 74 years old.
I was too. I thought he was almost 80. I thought he was much older.
I thought he was well into his 80s, but anyway, may he rest in peace.
May he rest in peace.
I'm going to leave you. I got one for you to listen to. I'm going to leave you on a good note, hopefully make you smile. Mm-hmm. Get all about Donald Trump. I'm going to tell you a little joke, okay?
Go.
So listen carefully. A horse walks into a bar, okay? Now the barkeeper says, you're in here pretty often. Think you might be an alcoholic? To which the horse says, I don't think I am. And vanishes from existence. Okay, the heart vanishes.
Okay.
You see, the joke is about Descartes' famous philosophy of, quote, I think, therefore I am, unquote. But to explain that part before the rest of the joke would be to put Descartes before the horse. Bye.
Wow. Bye.
I'll talk to you later.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.
He went all Descartes on us. Wow. How long did you sit up thinking about that one? Wow. 366-8951 is the phone number. 366-8951. If you have a bad joke, feel free to call in with. Again, going back to the election, and I think I'll leave it here before we start talking about the New Orleans Saints and how they snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. The fact of the matter is, Trump is the president, or the president-elect. He will be the president in 67 days from now, if my math is right. Those of you who didn't vote for Donald Trump, those of you who despised the very thought of him becoming president, I urge you to be better than those who oppose President Obama's presidency. I urge you to be better than those who threw racist vitriol and unfounded claims about our president on the internet. I urge you to accept Donald Trump and wish him well. And if you're the praying kind, say a prayer, send a couple good thoughts his way, because Lord knows he's going to need it. But the fact of the matter is now Donald Trump won the election. He is our president. He is my president. We now have to hope for his success and wish him well. Whatever happens, happens now. But the fact of the matter is, he's the one who'll be steering this ship. And we need to put our support behind him. We don't have to like the guy. We just have to support him. Doesn't mean we don't have to be critical. We have to support him and wish him well. We at least owe him the opportunity to do it and get it right. We at least owe him the opportunity to have a chance at doing the job. And again, maybe he'll surprise some of you. Maybe he'll pleasantly surprise you. Maybe he will surprise you with disappointment. It depends on which side of the aisle you're on or how you look at it. But the fact is, protesting isn't going to change anything. The fact is that calling this man names and throwing hate messages on Facebook and Twitter aren't going to change anything. Gloating about an election or sulking about an election won't change anything. It's time that we move on as Americans, accept this presidency, and go on with our lives. In 4 years, we can ask ourselves a famous question that Ronald Reagan asked in 1980 during a televised debate. Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? If we answer yes, then we'll give him another shot. If the answer is no, then you'll have a chance to vote him out then. But again, folks, the country's not going to die. The country is not going to go to hell in a handbasket. We will continue to exist. We will continue to be. The United States is already great. Trump doesn't need to make it great again. But at the very least, let's give him a chance to run the country and to run the ship. Next 4 years certainly will be interesting. But we owe the man an opportunity. Again, we put him there. Now he's got to prove himself. 366-8951. The phone was ringing earlier. Bert checks in. He says he's surprised Charles Bustani didn't make the runoff in the Senate race. I want to say that I'm surprised, but I'm not. because the poll numbers leading up were showing Foster Campbell and Boustany neck and neck. Depending on the poll that you looked at, Foster Campbell was up a couple points, Boustany was up a couple points. The result was expected. Either way, with Boustany in third place or with Foster Campbell in third place, would have been expected. And again, if you look at it, we knew John Kennedy would get in. We knew he would be number one. But the question is, who would be number two? And it was between Foster Campbell, it was between Charles Boustany. And if you look at the numbers, the raw numbers, Foster Campbell only got in by a few thousand votes. Was a differential, not even a percentage point. It was awfully close between the two of them. The sad part about that result is Louisiana is losing a congressman who went to bat for this state, who went to bat for Acadiana, got 2 veterans clinics built down here, got money brought to this area after natural disasters, a man who has been a great spokesperson and a great advocate for the state of Louisiana. Charles Boustany, in the 12 years he's been in Congress now, has done nothing short of an outstanding job as a congressman, first for the 7th Congressional District and now for the 3rd Congressional District. It's a shame that he won't be on Capitol Hill during this new Congress, during this upcoming Trump presidency. Louisiana needs someone who can advocate for it. And if you think about it, Louisiana will have one of the most junior delegations in Congress, with both John Fleming and Charles Boustany stepping down. You'll have a freshman senator. You'll have another senator who's been there for only 2 years. So for what it's worth, 2 freshman senators. You're going to have at least 2 freshman representatives going to Congress, representing LA4 and representing LA3 and LA4. Ralph Lee Abraham is going to go back for only his 2nd term in Congress, representing LA5. At least LA1 and LA2 have people who've been there forever. Steve Scalise and Cedric Richmond have been in Congress now for what? Richmond's been there about 8 years. Scalise has been there for 12, if my numbers are right. And then in LA6, I forgot the Baton Rouge district, another guy who's been there for only 1 term, he's going back in Garrett Graves. So you've got, all told, let's see, in years of experience, you'll have 2, 0, 2, 2. That's 6 years right there, just with congressmen. And then you add in the others. You're going to have what? About 26 years of congressional experience from the state of Louisiana. I can't remember a time where Louisiana's delegation was that inexperienced and that junior. I hope that doesn't hurt the state of Louisiana when the going gets tough. But I guarantee you, not having the likes of Charles Boustany there, not having the likes of David Vitter, as much as I couldn't stand the guy, got to give him props where it's due. Not having Mary Landrieu there is going to hurt the state of Louisiana greatly. At the very least, if you think about it, when Landrieu was elected in 1996 to succeed J. Bennett Johnson, she had John Breaux there to help her out and to be someone to stand up for Louisiana. Same thing with Vitter. When he came in, Landrieu was there. With some of these other representatives, when they came in, they had more experienced folks in the delegation there to help them out and help trumpet their causes. Not so much this go around. Caller, go ahead.
Ian Ozan.
What's happening, Lynn?
What's going on, man?
Oh, getting over the flu.
Yeah, I'm glad you're getting over it. Donald Trump might be a lot of things. But I'm going to tell you one thing he's not, okay?
What's that?
Donald Trump is far from being ignorant.
Mm-hmm.
I promise you, because you cannot be ignorant to come this far in life. It's smart enough to manage to win an election. And everybody got their own opinion, but the previous caller, some of the crap he said, it's just the most idiotic crap I ever heard. you want to talk about being ignorant, I heard some very ignorant comments, but but everybody like to say what they want to say. But and I'm gonna tell you what, even though I wasn't a big Trump fan, I said almost a year ago when I told you one time.
You called it. Yeah, you're right. You called it.
I called it. I told you what's gonna happen, and you know why? There's one number I looked at, one number I kept track of. You remember this? When 70% of the country, when 70% of the people is saying for the year and a half, the country's on the wrong track, they will make a change. And exit polling, it was 76% said it was on the wrong track.
That was the midterm exit polls?
Yeah, right. The exit polls for the general election was over 70%.
No, for which general election? Was that for the governor's race or was that for the congressional midterm a couple years ago?
No, okay. I'm talking about for Tuesday, the president election. Over 70% again, but they've been saying that for over a year. And like I said, I know we had two bad candidates, but I don't know. Let's give the man a chance.
Hey, Lynn, hold the line for a second. Let me take this other call, because this other call tried coming in. Hold the line. I'm going to come back to you.
All right.
Go ahead, caller.
Hey, Ian. I've been enjoying the program.
Thank you.
I tried to call a bit earlier, but you were having a rousing conversation.
And that's why I came back to you.
Okay, well, I only wanted to give my 2 cents about the election. The way I was seeing it, well, for one thing, 49% didn't vote.
Right.
Is I think important, and I think is a news story and stuff. But the way I'm looking at it, okay, for the folks that are really upset that Trump won and think that that people did some kind of disservice, the way I look at it is a lot of people were willing to accept all of the stuff that they didn't like about Trump in the same way that a lot of people were willing to accept. Not everyone that voted for Hillary is into overthrowing the democratically elected government of Honduras or overthrowing the government in Libya or overthrowing Iraq, or some other, a lot of the folks that voted for Hillary didn't just come around on the issue of gay marriage and LGBT rights, like Hillary did. People were willing to accept an imperfect candidate in the same way in both of these parties, because of things that they felt were more important. With Hillary voters, they thought that the long-term stability of the country was at stake. For Trump voters, they thought that the status quo is so untenable that even some kind of burn it down protest vote is worth it to see change.
And we saw a lot of that, where a lot of people voted for Trump as a protest against Hillary, and in some cases to say, you know what, you want it, to hell with it, have it, good luck.
Yes, exactly. And these are the same voters that approved our library millage again. These are not unreasonable people. Of course, there's unreasonable people on the fringes of any group, but this is something that is very describable, I think, and something that especially you and I both know, the Democratic National Committee needs to take note.
Right.
Lord, they need to be completely, subsumed by Bernie folks, or the movement that actually can turn voters out for something and not simply against.
Right. And you mentioned something there, and I've got to go back to Lynn, but you mentioned something that's absolutely right, and I tried hitting on this earlier, and I think you said it better. We in the media need to do a better job of finding the folks who are the reasonable voices, and to find out why they vote for a certain candidate, why they want a certain person in office. Far too often, especially now in this Facebook culture, we tend to go towards the extremes on both ends. But instead of that, folks in the national media especially need to find the ones who are more middle ground and find out why they're supporting a certain candidate. Because you're absolutely right. There are more people who are with logical reasons for voting for Trump over Hillary. Even if that is, I don't want another Clinton in office, and I don't want someone who's been around and has screwed this up. Regardless, even that by itself, if you think Hillary Clinton's track record as a senator or as Secretary of State wasn't up to snuff, hey, I can live with that.
Yeah.
That's a good reason.
Yeah, and I think those voices, as you know, are drowned out by the more shrill,
Oh, absolutely.
coarse, you know, the things that will get you ratings, which is not necessarily the illumination, but the inflammation.
Well, the problem is Facebook for TV doesn't do anybody good for ratings, and I'll leave you with this. The fact of the matter is the more shrill voices are the ones that are quick to post to Facebook. The more logical voices are the ones who tend to stay away, which you know what is probably better for their mental health. I appreciate the call. Let me jump back to Lynn on the other line.
Okay, brother, thanks. Have a good one.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Lynn, I don't know if you're able to hear all of that, but talking about some of the more sensible voices and some of the people with legitimate reasons for voting for Donald Trump. And at the end of the day, the last caller was absolutely right, where there are a lot of folks who voted for Trump who aren't on the fringes, who thought he would do a better job and really didn't like Hillary and her track record.
Well, the fact of the matter is this. One thing I want to say.
Yeah.
Anytime, for the last 8 years, anytime Obama was not on the ballot, the Democrats in this country got their clock clean. They got it clean twice in the midterms. The governorships have doubled. It was 18 or 19 when he took office. There's 35 states have Republican governors now. Over 900 legislators throughout the country, went Republican.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just. That's why I remember a few years ago, I was watching MSNBC. I think after the first midterm of Obama.
Right. 2010, when the Democrats got their butts handed to them.
You remember them calls MSNBC laughing and shucking and jiving, Republican parties in disarray and rubbles? I don't think so.
Yeah, they were saying the same. People were saying the same thing in July, and look what happened. The Democrats right now look like the party that's on the edge.
That's right.
But going back, and you mentioned it with the vote of fewer voters, there are some folks who came out and said that the gutted civil rights or the gutted Voting Rights Act may have kept some voters away from the polls. I disagree with that. While that may have had a negligible effect, the biggest reason you saw voters stay away were the Bernie Sanders voters who said when he didn't get the nomination that if he wasn't on the ballot, that if he wasn't the Democratic nominee, they weren't going to vote. The more millennial crowd, the 18 to 25 voters who were in it for Bernie, who were so gung-ho that they said they wouldn't vote for Clinton no matter what. Those are the ones who stayed home, or the ones who voted for, or the ones who decided to throw their votes to Trump. That's where Clinton lost. And again, it goes back to what we talked about earlier. The Democratic Party failed to listen to the youth movement. They failed to listen to the working class folks of the Rust Belt, and they failed to understand why anybody wouldn't want to vote for her. She was so wooden and so scripted that she didn't know how to go off her script. But the Democrats were so, what's the word I'm looking for here? They were so pompous and so adamant that they had this locked up that they didn't even bother trying to find out what made Hillary unlikable. And I think in the end, that's what killed them. It wasn't about issues. It never was going to be about issues. It was about likability of the candidates. People talk about how they enjoyed Donald Trump because he speaks his mind. Hillary Clinton never could do that. She was too damn scripted.
I mean, there's a lot of things Donald Trump did in the past that I don't approve of. But I mean, come on. It's like for the last 30 years, Hillary Clinton was never convicted of anything, okay?
Right.
But man, it's like, you know what I'm saying, true. A little scandal here, a little scandal there, a little under the... Sooner or later,
Well, we can say the same thing with Donald Trump, except they all just dealt with his ex-wives, but that's a whole other story.
I know, but then you can't hear it. I saw, every time I see on TV saying what I'm about to say, I want to break all my TVs in the house. She get up there and say, I never said no crap. James Comey said you said 110 of them. You hear Hillary? So don't give me that bull crap you didn't say, Eddie.
And it's funny.
You said 110 and you received them. And I'm going to tell you what. Whether he may have said, that's probably over. The Clinton Foundation got a lot of baloney that went on in this thing, okay? And that's not over. Trust me, that's not over.
Well, here's the thing, and I'll leave you with two thoughts. One, Hillary got the better of this deal because now she can go make millions of dollars speaking to banks again. But secondly, with all of this and with all the scandals and everything else that's going on with this, it's, I don't know why, I don't know whether or not this is it's funny or if it's just sad that Anthony Weiner would be the one who ultimately doomed the campaign because of his sexting.
Yeah.
Because he sexted a 15-year-old girl, they looked in his computers, they found more documents, and all this crap happened. Hillary went on record the other day and blamed Comey for her loss, which may or may not be the case. I don't think it is. I think she had lost it, again, with the benefit of hindsight. I think she lost it a long time ago. But still, the fact that Anthony Weiner popped up and had something to do with the outcome of this election is just shows how bizarre of an election year this really was.
And like I said, I've never been an Obama supporter, but if it had come down to Obama and Hillary Clinton,
you'd have voted Obama.
If somebody say you got to pick Obama again or Hillary Clinton, Obama would be the president for the next 4 years at least.
Yeah.
Hillary Clinton makes me. I would have been believe it or not. I would have been. You met. I'm a pretty tough guy. I'd have been distraught if Hillary Clinton thought Hillary Clinton being president. Seriously, like 2 hour record. Let you. Like 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm thinking Hillary Clinton in the White House. Then you got Bill in the White House. Then this is some of her cabinet.
Then you have interns in the White House.
Yeah, well, this would have been some of the cabinet members.
Mm-hmm.
John Podesta, okay, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Al Gore, Loretta Lynch, which I got
Lynch would have stayed around. The other three, I don't know.
Oh, Donna Brazil. That was some of the cabinet members, trust me.
I don't think so. Podesta and Brazil are operatives. They have no business being in the cabinet. With Al Gore, he doesn't want anything to do with public life. He's happy doing speeches and making more money than he ever did working in government. Who was the other one you mentioned? Oh, you mentioned Loretta Lynch. She'd have stuck around as Attorney General. You're right on that one. I agree.
Yeah.
But hey, at this point, it doesn't matter because she's not the president-elect.
I know. Now we're going to have a firecracker for Attorney General.
Who do you think he's going to select?
Who do you think he's going to select?
I don't know. Ted Cruz is the rumor right now.
Ted Cruz for Attorney General?
That's the rumor.
Oh, wait, real quick. Did you saw Lindsey Graham wants Ted Cruz to be on the Supreme Court?
Well, I heard that one too, but even Ted Cruz doesn't want it. Now, I'm sure some of his colleagues in the Senate want him to take either a cabinet spot or a position in the Trump administration just so they can get rid of him. He's not exactly liked in the Senate, but I don't see him on the Supreme Court.
No, I wouldn't want him on there either. Hey, one more comment.
All right.
You remember the song by Three Dog Night? Eli's Coming?
Yeah.
Okay. Attorney General. Rudy's coming.
That's a good call because he's been trying to work his way into that campaign forever. So you're absolutely right. I didn't think of that, but that should be the obvious pick.
Well, look, it's good talking to you, and I'll talk to you next week.
Good talking to you too, Lynn. We'll talk to you next week.
Right.
Bye-bye. Rudy Giuliani is Attorney General. Yeah, I could see that happening. He was a former, was he a U.S. attorney? He wasn't a judge. He was a federal prosecutor. I forget what exactly his title was, but I could see that one happening. We got about 3 minutes left in the show. And that was when Jacob called, he brought something up that I want to use as my final thought tonight. Folks, with this election and this election cycle and the advent of social media, take some time to do a couple of things. One, if you're on social media and you find yourself looking at a news story, ask yourself two questions. One, is this story legitimate? Is it a true story? Is this real news? Is this story real or is it fake? Is this story propaganda or is this something that was vetted by a journalist? Is this story satire? Because there's a lot of satire news that gets spread. Ask yourself what the legitimacy of the article and the story is. If the story is not legitimate, then it's not worth sharing, not worth reading. The second question is, does this story contribute to my echo chamber? Is this something that is going to reaffirm my beliefs as they are, or is it something that's going to challenge my beliefs? If it's something that challenges your beliefs, go for it. If it's something that doesn't, look for another news source or another outlet or another opinion or another story that will challenge your beliefs. After you do that, step away from the computer, folks. There's a whole world outside, off of Facebook and Twitter. Enjoy it. As the old news theme song in Philadelphia used to be, move closer to your world, my friend. Maybe if we all did that a little bit more often, we'd be better off. If we got to know people outside of our homes instead of just online, we'd be better off. And again, folks, the world's not going to end. There's a whole big world out there. Go enjoy it. Mary, I saw you tried calling. I had you on the line. I was coming to you right now. Call back.